Ladies and gentlemen, Detroit Lions fans of all ages, Alex Anzalone has entered the building. That was the news that came out of Dan Campbell's mouth this morning during the 8 a.m. press conference that Alex Anzalone has made it. He's in camp. He reported. Now, there was some questions that he tried not to answer, one of which, is there any potential for a hold-in? And Dan Campbell, he wasn't going to mince words with it. He said that he doesn't believe in it. He doesn't believe that that's, the situation for Alex Anzalone. Now whether or not, that's specific to Alex Anzalone or the entire NFL, he kind of made a blanket statement that he just doesn't believe that that's going to happen. So for Alex to be in camp, look, we expected it. Okay. The OTAs, the mini camps, he's never been a part of it. And Dan Campbell also emphasized that he's never been in camp for those things. Never been in, well, not camp, but the OTAs and the rookie mini camps and all that good stuff. So that's like, no news is good news, right? For whatever reason, a lot of this information that started coming through the media about Alex Anzalone holding out and wanting a new contract. Look, that may be partially true. He may want a new contract. And Dan Campbell was asked about that today. And he said, he's not going to comment on what's going on with the contracts with Alex Anzalone. But the most important thing is he's there, right? He's in camp. And that's a big, big, big thing, especially when you look at the injuries that the Lions are facing already to start camp. It's kind of a mess that the Detroit Lions are in. Now, as I said, Dan Campbell said on Sunday that he, Alex Anzalone is in. Let's take a look at this article here by the Detroit News. Nolan Bianchi says, you're here. The Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell said Sunday that Anzalone is back in Allen Park and has reported for training camp. Huge, right? After missing voluntary organized team activities during the spring. But again, that's not a big deal because Alex has never been there for those. So a whole lot of, huff and puff over nothing. Now, Alex is 30, right? He's 30 years old. He's entering the final season of his 3-year deal, of which, by the way, he doesn't have any guaranteed money. So, if I was a player too, of course, I'd be balking a little bit at showing up for camp and playing when I don't have any guaranteed money, on my contract. I would have hoped that by now, at least the Lions would have done something to guarantee some of his money to ensure that, he would be in camp and that he would be a participant. But all of that stuff now is water under the bridge because he's there. And it doesn't mean that there's not a deal that's not going to get worked out. But obviously, Alex has been hinting at a desire for a new contract on social media. Again, I don't necessarily believe in all that. I'm not saying that Alex hasn't dropped some hints about things, but he hasn't outwardly said, look, I'm not coming to camp unless I get a new deal. He hasn't said that, right? Yeah, he's put some things on social media, whether he was commenting on his value relative to other players at his position, which was causing some speculation to whether or not he was going to hold out, but also, publicly commenting on Trey Hendrickson deal and others, that they got deals. Now, from what I heard, the information that I was given is that, yeah, he's looking for 13 to 15 million. Now, he's not trying to be the most expensive or the highest paid, but he wants to be paid commensurate to his position, his value to the team, his age, obviously the statistics that he puts up. And I understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Campbell also said this today. He said, Campbell said Anzalone won't practice on Sunday, but he did report that he crushed the conditioning test and that the Lions coach doesn't believe that there's any contract-related reason for concern going forward, adding that it's not a hold-in situation whether Anzalone has reported but is refusing to practice until he secures a new deal. So that's important, right? Campbell said that he won't practice today, which means maybe that they are trying to get a deal done. But again, Dan Campbell's not going to comment on that. The most important thing is the quote by Dan Campbell where he said, he's here, he reported, he did great on the conditioning test. Weight's good, he's ready to go. Like, that's the most important thing right now. That at least he's healthy, right? Coming back from the forearm injury, that he looks good, he's ready to rock and roll. Anzalone was one of two players, according to this article, including since the retired center Frank Ragnow, to be absent during OTAs for non-injury reasons. The team acknowledged his absence but declined to comment on the reason. The linebacker market obviously has taken off. It's taken off for Alex Anzalone. Ever since that he signed his new deal We've seen, guys like Jamie Sherwood that I wanted the Lions to go after. I think he signed a 3-year, $45 million deal. Or it might have been a 3-year, $60 million deal. Whatever it was a lot of money. And clearly that's, more towards the tippy top of the market. And each linebacker's different from another, linebacker, depending on what system they play in, right? 3-4 versus 4-3. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles linebacker, Zach Bond, he signed a 3-year deal worth $17 million a year. While Derek Barnes, obviously, Alex's teammate, signed a 3-year deal at $8.5 million per season. Now, obviously, Anzalone is going to want more than this number. He's going to want more than 8.5, but it's not going to be north of 17. And I think that's why the guy that I have a good relationship, former executive in the NFL, said that number's 13 to 15, more likely on the lower end towards 13 million. Look, if Anzalone signs a 2-year extension at 20 million or 24, 25 million, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think that the Lions are probably going to try to do what's right for them and him, at least give him one more year of guaranteed money, get him all set for this year. And maybe this is the last time that we see Anzalone, dressed up in the Honolulu blue. I don't know. I think that he still plays at a very valuable rate, and I think he does a lot for this team. Obviously, according to this article, Anzalone has been one of the most important players in the Detroit defense in the Dan Campbell era. That statement is 100% true. But the good news is, man, Alex is in camp. The end, to put it plainly, like Dan Campbell said, that's the only thing that matters, is that he's here, right? He passed the conditioning test. He's ready to rock and roll. Anzalone is a big part of this team, man. As a captain, he's a leader of this defense. And given the injury situation now with Levi Onwuzurike out for the season and others on this defense, look, we've got significant injuries that just popped up with Ennis Rakestraw today. And so when you look around this defense and you look, how can we maintain that level of defense that is going to shut down the run? How are we going to maintain throughout a long season, with this depth chart? The Lions usually keep 6 linebackers. And I guess to answer the first question, how are we going to maintain the run game? I think there's going to be more pressure on the linebackers this year. Lee McNeil's out till November. He's probably not going to be the same player when he gets back, at least right away. Onwuzurike is gone. Broderick Martin, we have no idea what he's going to turn into. DJ Reader's entering this season, really healthy. But the rookie Tyleik Williams, he's a rookie. Rarely, but it does happen. Does a rookie defensive tackle make a huge contribution to a team in his first year? I'm kind of leading towards Tyleik to having to do that. Like, we need him to be one of those rarities in the NFL that gives the Lions way more than what they're asking for and turns out to be a pretty incredible bright spot. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back from a major injury. So again, to maintain the run game, I think that we're going to have to see some fluidity on this defense, some versatility from some guys, because, even like Josh Paschal, he's not going to be back until around Labor Day. We brought in a guy, Roy Lopez, who I believe in. I think that he's going to be great. And that signing is looking extremely smart from Brad Holmes right now. Let's take a look at our depth chart real quick. Here's your guys on defense. But most importantly, let's take a look at this linebacker room, okay? Right here. Alex Anzalone is your leading linebacker right now for the will position, according to our lads. Jack Campbell's in the middle. Derek Barnes is the Sam. Malcolm Rodriguez to back up Alex. Well, he's not going to be back until probably November. Grant Stewart picked up in the offseason. He's a solid middle linebacker backup. Trevor Nowaski down at the Sam position. He looked like an absolute stud walking into camp. He looks ready to rock and roll. More so than I think he was last year. Now we brought in Zach Cunningham. Again, another guy that's he's a jackknife, if you will, or a jack of all trades for this defense. I think that he's going to be able to fit in and be very versatile for Calvin Shepard. Now, Ezekiel Turner, I know some people are excited about him. I think he has a long way to go. Last year, he got eaten alive in the run game. He was biting down far too often on the fakes and on the RPO. He needs to be very composed this year and patient and making sure that he's seeing the right read. Anthony Pittman, he was also out. I think that he had some sort of an injury concern that Dan really didn't elaborate on today. But Anthony Pittman will be out of training camp at least for today. So we'll be following that story. And then we have Deron Gilbert. So we have 10 guys, right now that we need 6. We need 6 guys to really work out for this team. And I would say that we have really good depth on this squad right now. If Alex and Jack and Derek and Nowaski and Grant Stewart can lead the charge to begin this season and get us through, November, December healthy, and then guys coming back like Malcolm Rodriguez, being able to plug him in and to help this team, situationally, whether it's special teams or other situational schemes, I think that we're going to be just fine. But I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the linebacker room this year, and Alex Anzalone is going to be a big part of this defense winning. Last year, you saw us, man, and we were up against it. And again, this year, it's against all odds. Go Detroit Lions. Alex Anzalone, welcome to Detroit once again. It's time to go to work, man. It's time to hunt. Let's do it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.